Our investigators once again did a great job, but that sense of pride is distinguished by the fact that the bad person that we're always talking about, meeting about, is one of our very own. It's a detention deputy, Terry Bradford Jr., 25 years of age. Just over a year and a half ago, he took an oath. He had his badge pinned by his loved ones. He entered the sheriff's office and he pledged to uphold all that is good and just. How did we get here today? Our jail intelligence squad that we created just over a year ago learned information from a source that Terry Bradford was bringing cannabis-laced perishables into the detention facility along with other contraband and being compensated by the inmates. So his greed got the best of him. To what extent, how expansive is this? That's why these jail intelligence detectives and analysts aren't here today, because they have a lot of work to do. This is in the preliminary stages, but I commend them for their fast-acting efforts. We learned this information on Monday, and last night, this detention deputy was placed under arrest. He was placed under arrest for introduction of contraband into the detention facility and possession of a controlled substance. Last night was the first night this week that he reports to work. Terry Bradford reports to work last night, enters the detention facility, and we located, indeed, over a pound of cannabis-laced brownies that he had individually packed for sale to these inmates. What we've learned so far, and again, this is extremely preliminary, is that they use a cash app called Cash App, and it's that this money can be wired right into this deputy's account. We know so far that a few $1,000s has been profited by this deputy for the transactions that he completed in just this short amount of time. I say a short amount of time, but I don't know how expansive this is. That's what these detectives will work on now and certainly will provide that update. Does this include other deputies? Does this include other transactions? We're just not sure right now, but we'll continue working and get to the bottom of it. I can assure you that we have a zero tolerance for any type of contraband, especially illicit drugs that get introduced into our detention facilities. And some people may ask why. Think about the dangers that this creates. It turns into gambling. It turns into violence. And that violence, where's it going to start? It's going to start by one of our deputy sheriffs getting hurt trying to enforce these policies that's being created. What other contraband's being introduced into the detention facility? We know historically any detention facility on the local, state, or federal level that most contraband is introduced by an employee. So we're aware of this. That's why our screening measures that we have are probably exceed most of those that in any jurisdiction. But we have to allow our employees who work 12-hour shifts, we have to allow them to bring food in the detention facility. You know, they're inside, they don't have the freedom to leave to go get something to eat. So we have to allow them. Some have dietary restrictions, some have medications, some just want their own comfort food to come in and they don't want to eat food that's provided by the Department of Detention Services. I understand that. What we've done to mitigate this is our new food contract service is now cooking and providing very, I think, phenomenally healthy food options, a warm meal for our employees, free of charge. So I'm hoping that this will reduce the amount of food that's being introduced into detention facilities. That's difficult to screen. Now, what type of screening mechanisms do we have in place? Our employees are forced. And remember when I talk about our employees, it's not just our sworn detention deputies. We have a lot of outside contracted employees, whether it's medical employees, whether it's our teachers, whether it's our counselors, whether it's religious figures. Regardless of who is contracted to come into our detention facility, they have to go through magnetometers to make sure we're stopping weapons. All their items that they bring into the detention facility go through an X-ray machine. So I'm hoping with the adding the free service that we're going to cook a hot meal will reduce the amount of food that's coming in and stop any type of perishable item like this is happening. We know at least twice he's bring cannabis-induced brownies into the detention facility. Again, last night, over a pound of it. You know, think about the severity. Who's creating this? Imagine the dangers that this poses to the inmates in our custody. So extremely dangerous. I think this goes without saying, but I'll say it for my own edification. I don't ever want the actions of one deputy sheriff to reflect the hardworking, dedicated, and selfless service of the men and women that are the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Because I assure you that we have a zero tolerance for any type of corruption by any of our employees. And I've met with the command staff before coming in here tonight, this morning, and we all discussed if we have to go work the detention facilities ourselves to get to the bottom of it, because we have to weed out, terminate, and fire anyone that's bringing any type of contraband, that's violating the public trust, this community trust, and the trust of this agency, that's exactly what we'll do. Terry Bradford has lost his right to have a career in law enforcement, and I'll ensure that that happens. I talked to our state attorney today, and we will make sure that he feels the full weight of the criminal justice system. What type of questions can I take? Yeah, this was a source that came forward and said you have a deputy that's bringing contraband, illicit drugs, and this is how it's being done. Matter of fact, there's an order coming in Wednesday, his first day back at work. So when he came to work yesterday, once he got inside the detention facility, he met with this jail intelligence squad along with our command staff and had a lot of explaining to do. And again, we're still trying to figure out a lot of details. I'm sorry? That I can't say. Only the fact that we don't know how expansive this is. I feel comfortable just saying a source. I don't want to differentiate, if I may, between an employee or an inmate at this point right now, because I don't know how expansive this is, and I certainly don't want to be the person that's tainting this investigation going forward if it involves other individuals.
This can't be his first rodeo. I mean, if you make a pound of brownies, and does he have a history? I mean, what's the background on it?
I tell you what, this is surprising, and I'll tell you why. He's an experienced detention employee. He came from the State Department of Corrections, the Zephyr Hills facility. We hired him. He came here and doubled his pay rate to come here and work at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and I think work in a much better facility that offers a lot more programs that benefit employees and the inmates. It's surprising that this individual would go to these, would have this type of greed and would betray his oath and trust. So it's quite surprising. Do I think this is his first rodeo? No, I don't. And that's why these detectives and our analysts aren't here today. They're trying to unravel this. They're authoring subpoenas today to get that cash app and find out how much money was being transferred. Where was the money coming in from? So we almost have to peel back the layers of the onion and work backwards on this one. Do I think this is his first time doing this? Absolutely not. We already know there's at least a second time involving brownies. We also believe there's other contraband that he was being compensated to bring into the facility as well.
Would you be reaching out to Zephyr Hill, out to the state then, and see whether or not they're aware of anything?
We certainly will. They weren't aware during his application process. There was nothing there. We certainly will make sure that they're aware of his arrest and his termination now, to make sure if they had something pending or something that might lead back to this deputy, they may have their own investigation to conduct.
Which facility was it?
I'm sorry, you have to speak.
Which facility is it?
This is our Falkenberg jail facility out on Falkenberg Road, our large one. This is where a majority of our inmates are housed there.
Are any inmates being charged with anything as part of this?
Not right now, but there's a likelihood that there's some inmates that will receive additional charges too, 100%. Again, we don't know what inmates are involved, to what extent, and what money has been transferred. That will be coming out in the coming weeks. I think I can say in full confidence there'll be some additional charges coming. I just don't know in who yet. Is it in Sheriff's Office employees? Is it inmates? How expansive of a scheme was this?
With edibles being more potent out there with all the pot shops on all the blocks and corners, I mean, are you guys seeing a big case of the candy-looking
This is our first case that has been brought to our attention. I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go. It certainly makes it more difficult. We're still trying to find out, did he make this? Did he purchase it from another individual? Who was manufacturing this? How much marijuana is indeed in this? And we'll send that to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement lab. That's already been transferred this morning with a rush on it to try to find out how potent was this? How dangerous was this cannabis-induced perishable? We don't know. It certainly makes it easier to get in a detention facility. Is the deputy bringing some brownies for the share with fellow inmates? Is that edible, that gummy edible that a lot of us have seen become much more prevalent? Is it a candy that one of our deputies is going to ingest, or is it something that our deputies are selling to other inmates? That's what we're going to have to get to the bottom of here. One thing that we've done and started this the day I took over sheriff over 5 years ago was increased the likelihood of random drug screens. It was at a certain level, and I increased it to the maximum level. So our employees here get the maximum random drug screening allowed by federal law. You know, this is something we take very serious.
With this new food program, Sheriff, does that mean that there won't be any more food that's being allowed back in, or is that something you want to try to phase out?
Yeah, I think that the goal here, and that's a great question, the goal here is try to reduce the quantities of food coming in. You don't need 12 hours worth of food. I'm going to provide a hot meal from you. I have some fruits and vegetables that we'll give you for snack options. So we're trying to reduce the amount of food coming in. The problem herein lies inherently is, what if you have some type of dietary restriction? You're a diabetic, you're this, that, and we might not be able to contend to every type of need. What if you don't eat red meat and today's a red meat option, something like that? So I don't think I'll ever be able to stop every bit of food coming in. I don't know if I'm ready to do that because of the actions of one employee here, but we're certainly going to do everything we can to reduce the likelihood. And along with this comes, we've increased the number of canine searches, shakedowns that we do. That's become, we're even pursuing the option now of having a full-time canine, a drug-sniffing canine, assigned to our detention facilities. But they've increased the likelihood of them doing it. The frequency is much greater than it's ever been. And our employees aren't immune to that. Their possessions get sniffed just as well.
Last question.
Any idea what his reaction was when he was confronted?
No, I don't. To be honest with you, and this isn't me being insensitive, I really don't care. He betrayed the trust of this agency and this office strictly for greed purposes when our detention deputies make good money. Think about that. Our detention deputies, a starting pay is $60,000 a year. You don't even need a degree. All you have to have is a willingness and the heart to help other individuals. He betrayed that trust. I don't really care how he's feeling. Thank you, everyone.
What was his job there specifically?
Yeah, another great question. I'm sorry if I didn't clarify that. He was a detention deputy. He was the deputy that was assigned to one of the pods there. As we break down different pods, he was assigned to a particular pod. He was introducing contraband into that pod for inmates to purchase.
How many inmates are usually per pod?
I can make that decision.
It varies by the different pods, so I'll definitely get you that average. Thank you, everyone.